So we'll go through this fast. A little bit of myself. I've been playing Maple for a little bit over a year, almost to a year and a half now. Uh, Fully just kind of fell in love with the game. I haven't played an MMO in probably easily over since my middle school days, so probably like at least 10, 15 years. So this is the first MMO I've stepped back into, and I love the game a lot. Play a lot. In basically a year and a couple months, I've climbed to 285. Just hit that a few weeks, week ago. So yeah. So why you play Buck? The dragon. The dragon is really useful in a lot of ways. Um, some of the basic ways is that a lot of people are able to train just with the dragon. So all you have to do is move. And now with Janice, if you're strong enough, you don't have to move at all. Now, here's the little asterisk there. So on November 20th, Bucks are supposed to get a buff, but they're also changing the way Janice interacts with the dragons. Supposedly, we don't know that until we see the patch notes. In KMS, they removed the interaction where the dragon procs Janice, and then Janice, which procs Urda Shower. So it could still be an AFK training class for a few more months, at least up until this latest second mastery. I've literally just stand in one spot, set my Janice, and just I can literally take my hands off the keyboard. So that's helped me definitely reach 285, or go through the tough training, the long hours of training to get to 285. Buck is a pretty popular class, not in the top 10, but the people who like a class that are agile, and I mean that by it has a lot of movement. I think that's kind of the theme today, classes that move a lot or have a lot of utility and movement. So that's what Buck does. There's several different ways to move in a Buck, and I'm going to actually show that in later in this presentation. So if you like a class kind of like where you play like, I don't know, Assassin's Creed or classes that fly around and do a bunch of different moves, and this is the class for you. So you require, for bossing, hands, which I don't have, so it's taken me a lot of hours to learn how to boss properly with this class. Next thing is there's a buff coming on the 20th. Supposedly, someone did the math, it's between 6 to 7% of an FD buff. So pretty nice. Buck is somewhere usually, at least to the Korean DPS charts, somewhere usually above 20 and above of the classes. So the top half of all the classes. So this is only going to make it a little bit more viable in the end game, which is actually the reason I actually pushed for 285. I was originally going to stop at 280 because it was very hard for me to get into the end game bosses like N Caling or C Calo, stuff like that. And with this, it's kind of motivated me to push forward. Easy burst. As someone with bad hands and a bad memory, it was really important to me that I could just easily set up the burst. Now, one of the good things is the burst is essentially a full iframe. And you can use it as a full iframe, or you can space it out. So one of the things common people do is, I think you saw in rollings. Let's use rollings and Black Mage as an example. You could iframe every single, maybe not every single, but most of the rollings. So you could hit your orb throws one at a time, just to time it, so that you could stay iframed through all of the rollings instead of having to say leave, jump away, and come back and finish your burst, as with most classes who don't have an iframe during their burst. One of the cons is the last bullet point is grinding in Grandis can be hard with Dragon only. It requires a pretty significant jump in your gear to do Dragon only training. So I'm going to show that real fast here. So what you'll see here is two things. That the dragon is proccing Janice. So here we are, we're setting up the balls. I don't know, not all of us have two balls, but we're here. And then now you just teleport here and you just stand here. The dragon hits the monster procs Janice procs Erda right under you. And this is essentially what I did when I was at Shangri-La the whole time. Set this up and set a little timer next to me for every minute and 10-ish seconds, and I would just go set it back up. So it's pretty great. Now, if you don't have Janice and you have to move around a little bit, all you still have to do is move around. But the great thing about Buck here is super jump. Now, you heard earlier during the Demon Slayer about Spanish keyboard. That's the easy way to do super jump. But with a little bit of practice, you can do it. And it's basically you set up advanced dash and then jump, basically. That's it. And you time it where you hit advanced dash and you hit jump right after. So this is a relatively small map, but you can jump pretty damn far. You can almost make it across the whole Black Mage map if you do it perfectly. So one jump and I make it all the way across this map. So when I'm training and I just use Dragon, all I do is, I'll set up my Janice at the top half of whatever map I'm on. And then if I need to move, I just jump around the bottom like this. And I'll turn around, jump back, turn this way, jump back, turn this way, jump back. And that's usually enough for me to full clear most maps. Now again, in Grandis, you have to have pretty decent gear to clear with just Dragon. And if you don't, all you have to do is throw in the Hook Bomber, which is this. Now, if you have your Sea Serpent on, it procs where it blows out even further. So it can either blow out vertically or horizontally. And that's a little bit of, depends on how many stacks you have. Going back. So again, why train? Easy. I could have chosen an easier class, but I really, in growing up, I've always liked to play thief classes or classes that are incredibly agile. And this is what sold me on it. And yeah, that's the big thing. Now, movement. Now we're getting into the fun stuff. So movement. So this is a good example that a friend of mine that was teaching me how to do Black Mage on Buck showed me. Here's a good example of rollings coming on the left here, and how you get around it quickly and then re-enter the fight. So most classes, like let's just say I have a meal that is a marksman. You either flash jump or all you have is a teleport. So teleport useful, you can teleport to the other side, come back. But if you place your teleport in the wrong spot, then you're stuck getting hit by a laser and you can still die that way. Whereas with Buck, it's coming, I move out, I jump, vortex, and I come back in. Now, what a lot of people don't know is you can control the distance of the vortex. So you can see this again where he jumps and vortex is that staple distance. You can control with a animation cancel to stop it short. So he still got hit by the laser, but he could have, if he wanted to, hit the vortex button again and cancel it in midair. So that's another one of the benefits for Black Mage. So like let's say the spikes come out after you. You can literally just jump up into the air and just hold vortex and you'll trickle down. So like this. And you will dodge all the spikes. Whoops. Yeah. So like that. You can stall in midair to land perfectly. So if you're doing things like Lotus, where the phase 3, where she's doing the lasers, and you need to jump, but you also need to stay in the air for a certain amount of time, like for an extra second, vortex, and you'll stay in there. Let's say you already used blink for whatever reason. So that's a little bit of advantage there, or good movement skill there. Moving to some little bit of the dark, what we call dark tech. So duck dashing. This useful, extremely. Where I lost my mouse. Extremely useful for Saren, for example. You can stay crouched and move. Now this isn't your if you've played Bishop, there's a little trick to duck dashing. But you still, if you do it at the wrong time, you still can get hit. Whereas with Buck, you can literally lay here with your dragon on, and you'll still hit everything. And you'll still avoid all the attacks that Saren has. So very often, when I was first learning Saren, I would just stay like this and just literally just dash around like this. If I started to lose a lot of lives and I needed to play safe, I could easily dodge all the whatever you want to call it, volcanoes at the bottom, just by doing this. And while I'm doing it, I don't get hit. Now, certain buffs will technically proc you to stand up. So for example, like that, I'm holding down, but I needed to hit a buff. So you still be a little careful, but there are certain buffs that don't force you to stand up, like Maple Warrior, for example, like that. Couple other tricks. There's a corkscrew teleport, where you can teleport forward after you hit, after you corkscrew, after you corkscrew and then octo punch. Right? These things can be useful to getting you back into the class, into damaging the boss. So this is why people also consider Buck a hybrid class, where you have a pretty strong burst, but you also can DPM a lot. You can do the reverse animation cancel. Animation cancel is a huge one for covert, or in general, getting out of a sticky situation in any of the bosses. Placing down banner, you can just cancel out of it. Let's watch that one more time, and your banner still comes down. So here again, the teleport with the animation cancel. This one is one of my favorites, and I use this very often. Momentum cancel. Now, if you're in the air, you can use Vortex to stall. Here's animation cancel, where if you just need to make micro movements, and let's just say you're, trying to stick to the back of a boss. Will, Saren, Lotus, right? You can make small movements by simply pressing dash and then down, and you'll stop all your momentum. So again, very handsy class, but also very rewarding when you play it right. So again, here you can use Serpent Vortex without a directional key to stop all momentum. Right? You're about to jump into an FMA or into some kind of thing that's going to one-shot you and you need to stop. Vortex. The great thing is right now, even with the Buck change coming in where you get to blow out. So Vortex stacks 6 skills. So you get 6 times. You can blow all 6 times with this change coming on the 20th, where you stack all the damage. But really, most Bucks are probably not going to do that and keep it as a movement thing, utility. Blink teleport. This is something that a lot of beginners have trouble with Bucks, where you have a kind of a teleport that you can accidentally hit by double tapping your arrow key. So like you're doing Will and you still have Lightning Form on, because Lightning Form lasts 80 seconds, you can accidentally move and get yourself killed in Will if you're not careful with your movements. Going to the last thing I wanted to share is the buff order. The burst order. Pretty simple. Banner, Goddess, Epic. You turn on Lightning Form, which lasts 80 seconds. Then you go to Stimulating Conversation, Overdrive, AB Link, Origin, Throw the Balls, Howling Fist. How I set this up is pretty straightforward. I have my long bursts, my long buffs, 1 through 5, in that order, and then AB Link is at Q, W, and then Roar, and then just D and F. Origin, D, and F. That's it. So really, your burst is essentially, without not counting the buffs, is 3 buttons. Your Origin, throwing your balls, and then Howling Fist. So, and just in case not everyone is aware of the Buck, what I mean by throwing the balls is throwing these balls. And each time you throw the ball, you are in an iframe. And then your Howling Fist is iframed also towards the part where the mouth closes. A couple of the other tricks that I really like that help me a lot is, yes, we don't have an iframe that we can throw out every, say, let's just say 30 seconds or under, but we can take advantage of a lot of things with Time Leap. So Time Leap, if you didn't know, resets certain skills. Two of the most useful skills, in my opinion, that I use is AB Link and Takeno's Blessing. Now, if you don't know what Takeno's Blessing is, you should definitely get it. It's definitely a lifesaver in most scenarios. Recovers your HP and gives you a shield that lasts for 5 seconds. Not in every situation does it save your life, but it definitely helps. So in situations where I'm in Black Mage and I can't use my pot, or whatever boss that you can't use your pot, I'll use Takeno's Blessing and then I'll reset it. So instead of it being, look down here, 28 minutes, it comes back every 2 minutes now. So I can repeatedly use this in most long boss fights that basically save my life. The other thing it resets now that is more advanced is Hero's Will. Something that you may use a lot in Black Mage and maybe other classes, other bosses that stun you, for example. Like if you didn't know, if you use it at the right time, Lotus's Push, for example. Not Lotus's Push. The debris that falls on your head that stun you. If you use it right before it hits you, you take damage, but you don't get stunned, which may save your life from other things. That's basically all I got. I hope you enjoyed that.